Medical Service of Madrid, Suma Gonguantu. For me, it's a pleasure to present in first while Mrs. Miyuki Takaki. She's going to explain us a relationship between disaster rescue rescue those activities and technology. She has, perhaps I'm going to present all our collaborators, and after that, each one is going to present a little biography of each one. So, first, Mrs. Miyuki. In the second one, Mr. Tetsuo Murota. He's an expert about emergency firefighting assistant. Mr. Takashi Kotani is going to explain the use of drones in disaster rescues. For us, it's a pleasure to present Mr. Kiyoshi Murakami. He's going to explain about the recovery from tsunami in Rikuzentaka City. Sorry, Rikuzentakata. From European practitioners, we have in our meeting Mrs. Annika Kohl. She is the head of Spanish USAR team involved in search and rescue operations that has experience also in Spain and other international activities. The second European practitioner is Mrs. Tina Ritzmey. She's from Germany, and she's going to explain how technology application is involved in search and rescue operations. Mr. Ioannis Kolobos, he is from Greece, and he's going to explain his experience in Beirut explosion in Lebanon 2 years ago. And also another experience in earthquakes. Finally, last but not least, Mr. Harris Georgiou. He's from Greece as well, and he's going to explain the floods in the Attica area. And after this brief presentation, we have the chance to receive more explained biography from each one. So for me, I give you the floor, and also Mrs. Miyuki, would you explain us an explanation of your activities with rescue dogs? If not, I can explain a little explanation of the curriculum vitae of each one. Mrs. Miyuki is from Japan Rescue Association. She has been interested in disaster after the Great East Japan earthquake, and after experience the harness of NPO operations during her internist training. She joined the company in 2014 with the hope of making a small difference with this type of situations. He dispatched to the West Japan torrential rain disasters, the Saga torrential rain disaster in 2019, and the Southern Kyushu torrential rain disasters in 2020. Also, he has experience in the Atami City mudslide disaster in 2021 to engage in search operations. He also has response to mountain requests. In addition to research activities, he also turns to support activities to help disaster-stricken pets. Okay. During normal times, he has collaborated with two disaster rescue dogs and conducts a wide range of activities, including training operations with rescue teams, conducting disaster rescue dog demonstrations, giving lectures, and training personnel. I don't know if Miyuki would like to add any other experience or comment. Mr. Tetsuo Murota, he is a special lecturer, Disaster Prevention and Crisis Management course, National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies, Adjunct Lecturer, Graduate School of Governance Studies, Meiji University, Doctor of Polity Studies, former Director, National Protection and Disaster Prevention Department, Fire and Disaster Management Agency, Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, former Deputy Mayor of Hiroshima City. It's a pleasure to have these huge personalities, experience, and curriculums with
Hiroshima市です。
Thank you very much, Mr. Tetsuo. Would you like to share an experience, any other comments about your biography? Okay, thank you. Next one is Mr. Takashi Otani.
画面共有してやってもいいんでしょうか。どんな感じでやればよろしいですか。
Would this be a good time to share my screen? I'm not sure how much you're expecting right at this time.
Yes, of course, it's the chance. You can share your screen and show us a specific slides for based on your experience. Thank you.
今、画面共有、私ができない状態なので、可能にできますか？
Would you be able to change the settings to allow me to share my screen, please, to the organizers?
Okay. Yes, I don't have the. I don't know if you can. You could put the key of share screen. You can. You appears in your screen the option to share screen.
今、できましたかね。
It's above in the middle of the screen. It's a box.
Okay. Now it's okay. I think everybody can share the screen.
じゃあよろしいでしょうか。
Yes, どうぞ。
室
Can
田
everyone see this? This is Murota. I used to work as a representative of former department manager for citizen protection and disaster prevention of Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communication. So I'd like to share my experiences with you. So first of all, emergency rescue team. And in Japan, it's all dealt with disaster by local government. So local firefighting team has to deal with in the first place. But if we have large-scale disaster, we can ask for some help from other cities. And when we have major disaster, we have to rely on emergency firefighting organizations so that they will send their personnel to affected area. And in terms of the Eastern Japan earthquake hit in 2011, this emergency firefighting team dispatched their personnel to those severely affected areas such as Miyagi, and they work for as much as 88 days, and the total number of personnel dispatched was over 30,000. And after a week since the earthquake hit, there was a maximum of 6,800 personnel in affected area, and it was about 44% of the total number of registered personnel, firefighters. And because local firefighters had to deal with the immediate damage in affected area locally, so they only have limited number of personnel they can dispatch. And as sending personnel to somewhere far away takes a long time, so that's why there were some delays in sending required personnel. And based on that lesson learned, we have to be prepared for expected another significant earthquake called Nankai Trough earthquake, and we have created a plan like this. And for 10 prefectures that are likely to have severe damage, we set them as critical places, And for blue area, we will send required personnel immediately. But for orange areas, we should have a certain level of damage. And that includes some major cities like Tokyo. And once those rescue team deal with immediate damage in their areas, they can still send
Recording in progress.
resources to more severely hit areas. And 230,000 people are expected to be affected by this Nankai Trough earthquake, and that would be the 10 times of damage as much as what we have experienced in the past. And we will have about triple amount of emergency team members for police, firefighters, and etc. And we would have definitely a large level of lack of resources. So the point is to allocate required human resources to the most severely affected area quickly. And that's why we have to understand the level of damage quickly and accurately. And there are still some technical challenges around this, and that comes to the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your Hajj presentation. It has been a pleasure to learn about the experience from this specific disaster area, and thank you for sharing it. I don't know if someone would like any question about this experience. If not, we are going to pass for the next speaker. Okay, we are going to present to Mr. Takashi Kotani. He is from the Hyoko Sanda chapter, the Regional Tributarization and Disaster Prevention Useful Drones Promoters Association. Takashi Kotani, branch manager, and I thank you very much, Takashi, for being here in this practitioner workshop. He worked for a construction consultant for many years, and he was in charge of design work, mainly road design and tunnel design. He started drones business in 2017. He has concluded agreements with Sanda City and Kato City in Hyogo Prefecture to provide support during disasters using drones. Mr. Takashi has participated in many disaster drills held by the local governments every year. He is a drone master instructor from the MPA. He provides guidance and education to instruction at branch nationwide and has directly instructed more than 400 students in drone training course. His work experience includes documentary filming of disasters and disaster drills, corporate PR filming, and other aerial filming. In addition, he also shoots on the ground, edits video, sprays agriculture chemicals using agriculture drones, shoots inspection using underwater drones, and shoots with micro drones. I don't know if Mr. Takashi if with this abstract you prefer make a comment and offer the opportunity to other speaker.
よろしいですか？はい。
Can I say something, please? Okay, so let me just add two more things from myself.
Yes, yes, of course.
So as Anna just introduced earlier, I am Kotani from Hyogo Sanda branch of Regional Revitalization of Disaster Prevention Useful Drone Promotion Association, and I provide drone training as well. And let me share my screen. Just a moment, please.
Is everybody able to see this? Regarding our activities, as I mentioned, we use drones as part of recovery. We work on rules and training sessions regarding how to use drones. We create hazard maps by using drones to do the photography for those maps. That's the type of area of our activities. In Japan, basically, when a disaster happens, if you ask whether any person can use a drone to do photography, that is not the case. The government or specific organizations would need to put out a request for it to be authorized. And within this situation, our organization has 38 collaborating local government areas, and we work with them in the north, in Hokkaido, in Sapporo, the capital of the island, as far down as Okinawa in the south. There are more than 90 cities that we work with. And when a disaster happens, we set out, we are dispatched to help in collecting information by using drones to take footage, photos and videos. This is from 2006. This was an enormous earthquake in Kumamoto. The magnitude was 7, I believe. Kumamoto is in Kyushu Island. The scale was huge. And so we separated ourselves into several teams because it was such a wide area that we needed to photograph. And as they are drones, the main merit is that the drone can go into an area that a person cannot safely access and get a perspective not from ground, but from above. This is a huge advantage because you can gather a lot of information in this way. Aside from that, there was the Western Japan torrential rain disaster, including landslides. There are often typhoons in Japan, and we receive a request in the case of a typhoon or other disaster and set out to gather information using our drones. One issue that we face is that drones are not easy or suitable for flying in a heavy rain situation. Recently, you hear of drones that are designed to film in the rain, but the camera and the lens tends to get drips and they do distort the footage. There are a range of problems, and if we could overcome these issues through technology, I think drones could become even more valuable as a resource. That's all from me for the moment.
Thank you very much, Takashi. Thank you very much for your experience, and I don't know if it will be any question about your specific experience. So interesting. Okay. If not, I want to thank you, your time, your explanations, and I'm going to present next speaker. This is Mr. Kiyoshi Murakami. He has born and raised at Rikuzentakata, Iwate, Japan, has established Rikuzentakata Agency Company on 2021 and appointed as a Chief Executive Officer. Until then, Murakami has served the city of Rikuzentakata as a special representative on Mayor and Senior Executive Advisor. He has been a policy advisor to Mayor Futoshi Toba from 2012 to 2016. He has been also serving to Tohoku University and Rikyo University as visiting professor since 2020 and completed his terms as a special advisor to President of Iwate National University between 2016 and 2020. In the past 10 years, from 2011, he has spent more of his life into the reconstruction and renewing efforts from tsunami devastation of the city of Rikuzentakata under the concept of building back better. Prior to this, Murakami has extensive experience in human resources management at multinational financial institutions, Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, and he also served as Director of Career and Staff Support Service of Human Resources Management at the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in Geneva from 5 years. Thank you very much, Mr. Kiyoshi, to be here. It has been a huge biography. I don't know, Mr. Kiyoshi, if you would like to share with us any screen, any slides to present, or you would like to make any comment about your experience. You are invited to speak, to present. Thank you to be here.
My name is Murakami. Thank you, Anna Maria, for your introduction. For me also to be participating is a great honor. I'm so sorry in the background. You can hear some music. I ask for your patience for a moment. So, as introduced, I'm Kiyoshi Murakami. I am at a fairly new company, the Rikuzentakata Agency, at the CEO. I'm also a visiting professor at Tohoku University. And as you can see on screen, I was the Human Resources Manager at the UNHCR previously. And after that, since then, I've been based in Rikuzentakata, working with the city. As Mr. Murota mentioned, ever since the great earthquake tsunami disaster of Eastern Japan in 2011, I've been completely focused on disaster recovery effort. And thank you so much for everybody else for your wonderful efforts, research, cooperation, and so on. It's been 11 years since that disaster, and I'd like to look back a little bit and see what happened and what's changed in the last 11 years. And this is Rikuzen Takata. It's a place known for its beautiful beaches. I may have shown this in my video recording as well, but Rikuzen Takata was a famous and beautiful tourist destination on the northeast coast of Japan. Truly beautiful. And regarding the tsunami, I would just briefly like to touch on what happened. Is that all right with everybody? This is a scale of, this is after the magnitude 9 massive earthquake happened. As you can see, the buildings are all intact immediately after the earthquake. So Japan is known for being quite earthquake resistant. Buildings are designed to resist earthquakes. And as you can see here, basically that had succeeded. And I want to show this as a comparison to show the destruction of a tsunami following a magnitude 9 earthquake. This is, so at 2:46 p.m., the massive earthquake occurred, and about 25 minutes later, this photograph was taken. And as you can see, the buildings look completely intact. The tsunami occurred at 3:25. And well, actually, of course, it began earlier, but this is the time that it arrived. There was a 5.5 meter retaining wall in the ocean, a tsunami resistance wall. It overcame that. And as you can see in this photo, there are people actually just about to get into their car now as the tsunami hits the beach. The tsunami warning was being announced loudly all over the town from 2:46 p.m. and people were just trying to evacuate now. This is an enormous issue. As you can imagine, some people thought, we'll be fine. We're not going to be victims. Nothing ever happens to us. This kind of complacency is, well, you'll see what unfortunately happened straight after that. Within 1 minute of that photo, the tsunami engulfed the town, swallowed up the town. Based on experience, you just need to listen to the tsunami warnings and escape if there's an evacuation warning, regardless of the fact that it may not always be necessary. So basically everything is covered. The entire town is completely submerged in the water of the tsunami. This is a photo taken from the fire station. It's in the town, basically the town center. You can see how the tsunami comes and it destroys everything in its path. This scene is still from the fire station, so the height of the tsunami is climbing up. Would it be all right to show a video now as well? In the video, you can hear people screaming absolute voices of terror. It's hard to understand what they're saying because they're in such panic. They're saying, go up. This is not high enough, go up. What is this? So this is what happened. This location, the top of the fire station, it's a 3rd floor rooftop. People had escaped here thinking they would be safe, but it wasn't high enough. So they climbed up a metal tower on the roof, a radio tower, quite a small tower on the roof, to try and get higher to escape to safety. And as you can see, the tsunami just keeps on coming. And at this time point, the whole town is it's vanished. This is Rikuzen Takata City's City Hall. This is also partially a 3-story building. This is about 15 minutes later. So the water level has actually already dropped when this photo was taken. You can see City Hall employees and also residents of the town are on the rooftop trying to escape to safety. Of the 400 employees at the City Hall, 100 lost their lives, and those who survived lost houses, family members. The mayor of the town had only been mayor for 3 weeks, and he lost his wife in this disaster, in the tsunami. And I still do work closely with the mayor. One miracle occurred. There were 70,000 pine trees, and just one managed to somehow stand up to the tsunami, and it became known as the miracle pine. This is just showing the rescue scenes, the huge volume of debris. Almost every person found in the search and rescue is found as a deceased victim. What can be done? Of course, this is 11 years ago. There were not so many drones available. But in this kind of situation, what's really important is, well, technology is important, but first and foremost, to save your own life, to escape early. That's what we have really learned. In Rikuzen Takata, of the total population of 24,000, over 1,700 lost their lives, and 13,500 people were displaced. That means they lost their homes in the tsunami. And in this situation, I just want to show you a map of San Francisco, just to give you an idea of the scale, to see what size the area is that we're talking about. So the blue area is the area that was completely covered in water from the tsunami. If you compare this with San Francisco, it's probably about 1/3 of the size of the entire San Francisco. So this entire area has been destroyed. And this is on the night of the tsunami at an emergency shelter. People were just devastated. And the question that follows is, in the case of a tsunami disaster, basically, if you don't escape, you will lose your life. So how to communicate that, to evacuate early. And you also lose electricity, phone communication options. All the lifelines are destroyed. And so how to manage that situation? Also, evacuation programs need to be very well planned. And ahead of time, people need to have disaster preparedness and disaster awareness within the local community. An early warning system is something that really relies on technology. It should be integrated to make use of phones and all methods available. So we have a lot of new technology that has emerged since this disaster. And so I hope that that will help us to avoid such a scale of disaster and devastation happening ever again. After this, Rikuzen Takata created a reconstruction plan to rebuild, to build back better. I'd like to tell you about this, but I think we don't have much time. So if you have questions, please, let's do it that way. Please ask any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiyoshi. It has been impressive pictures and video and also huge learned lessons. Very interesting, the gaps of technologies and also the reply of the population, the next challenge for it. If there isn't any other comment, I would like to present to the first European panel, Annika Kohl. She is the head of Erican Usar Spain 1 team. And I give you the floor, Annika.
ください、アナさん、宮崎康ですか。
Yeah. Sorry, Yayushi. Please.
Could I say something? Anna, please. Just a second, Anna. Thank you.
Yes.
Anna, can you hear me?
Yes.
高木みゆきさんのお話をまだプレゼンテーションを伺ってい
I
ます。
think we haven't had presentation from Miyuki Takaki. And so I think maybe we should have her before we move on to EU side. Would that be okay?
Okay. So we wait. I understand.
Anna それでは、アナさん、高木みゆきさんにご報告をいただ
Anna,
く
so are you happy to have Miyuki Takaki-san now? Is that what you said?
すいません。うまく入れず申し訳ございません。
Apologies, I wasn't able to jump in properly earlier. I am Takaki from Japan Rescue Association. Let me share my screen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Takaki.
Again, I am Takaki from Japan Rescue Association. I've been involved in training rescue dogs for the last 8 years, and I was involved in various disaster activities. And I'd like to talk about the use and actual application of disaster prevention technologies. And disaster rescue dogs have a significantly great sense of smells and can be used as one of the tools to search victims. We don't use lead to connect handler and rescue dog. And rescue dog will just follow the smell of like sweat or etc. of anyone trapped. And rescue dogs can get through even narrow and dark places. So dogs can let handler know any survivors or victims as soon as they found, and by barking towards us. However, in very severe affected areas, the dogs may not express much reactions as much as they normally do. And there's a pile of mud in the affected areas, so a rescue dog wouldn't be able to smell much. And when people die, it generates a different type of smell. So in most cases, rescue dogs wouldn't be able to bark with confidence, even when they've identified anything. So what we have to do as handler is to try and understand what rescue dogs are trying to say or have found anything by just looking at very subtle reactions. And disaster prevention technologies such as camera can show what's happening inside the collapsed buildings, but it can also be used to identify what kind of reaction that rescue dogs are having, so that we can identify their movement objectively. And that would help us finding any survivors as quickly as possible. And using disaster prevention technology would produce enormous amount of potentials. However, affected area have a lot of wooden pieces, mud, and it poses so many risks following disaster. And so rescue dog, which have these suits, rescue suits, might get stuck because of these poor conditions. And at the moment, it is difficult for them to carry out what they're supposed to do in this affected area with these suits. However, if these rescue suits become much lighter and maybe it can integrate it with other systems in the future, like drones, then it should be able to help these rescue dogs and who can even work in mountain areas. Thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much. It has been a very interesting experience, a very huge work with the dogs day by day, a huge results. Thank you very much. I don't know if someone would like to make any question of this specific and beautiful experience and work. Okay. After the presentations, we will discuss about the different profiles and tags into the disasters. I want to present to the next speaker now, Annika Kohl, the head of ERICAN USA Spain One team. And I give to Annika the floor in terms to explain her experience making ERICAN along the world with earthquakes and others. Thank you, Annika.
Good morning. You hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm gonna share my presentation. I'm gonna share it.
Anika, we are having difficulty hearing you. Are you in the English channel or the Japanese channel? If you're in the Japanese channel, you should put yourself in the English channel.
As far as I know, I'm in the English channel.
Okay, maybe you can get closer to the mic because it's very difficult to hear you.
I can get it a little bit closer. So I'm just gonna begin with my presentation here. You hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Yes. But if you can be more, you can put your microphone nearest from you.
It's my computer, so otherwise I will have to put my head in the computer.
Okay. We can hear you better than previous.
I will speak loud.
Yes, please.
First of all, I'm going to introduce myself. As Anna said, I'm the team leader of ERICAM, that it's the regional fast response team to disasters of Madrid. I'm a fire officer in the regional fire brigade since 2001. I'm very involved with the INSARAG, the International Search and Rescue Advisory Group. And I am the Spanish operational focal point of INSARAG as well. From 2015 to 2018, I was the fire chief of the region of Madrid. And my background is that I'm an architect specialized in structural analysis.
Okay.
So, ERICAM, a short introduction, is a classified as a medium team by INSARAG and the EU Civil Protection Mechanism. Oops. And has been in different international incidents and national as well. All the responders of ERICAM are first responders in the Madrid region. So ERICAM deployed to Haiti earthquake 2010, the Chile earthquake 2010, to Lorca, Spain in 2011, and Ecuador 2016. These are the user responses. Then ERICAM also have responded to different forest fires, both in Spain and Portugal, big forest fires, to support other fire brigades. So this is a short introduction on me and the team. The team, as Anna said, it's not only firefighters, it's also the SUMA 112, that is the medical part component of the team, that is where Anna works. And then we have also K9 units, that one of them is ESDP, that is also a big K9 unit. So now I'm gonna pass to the short presentation that I have prepared, where I will focus a little bit on the national and international user operations, urban search and rescue operations, where I will just bring to the floor some problems we have found when we have been deployed, and the solution that can help these problems that we have found, of these challenges. So I would make a big difference between the level of user response that we can have. We can respond at local or regional level, at national level, or international level. And the response will be very different and with very different challenges. As you can imagine, when you respond to a local response, it is because it is not a big incident, so big. So it has the same challenges and problems as other local incidents, plus some special needs because it is an urban search and rescue incident. At a national level, that means that the local capacity has not been enough. That means that the nation asks for support from the other provinces, regions, and municipalities, emergency responders. Then we have the same, of course, the problems that we find in a local user response. Plus the challenges of a bigger emergency, more responders with no local support or network or local logistics that we are used to. And finally, in an international user response, where we have all those previous problems, plus many, many other problems when we have to respond. Of course, many logistic problems, but also operational problems, as it's an extensive damaged area with affected infrastructures and services, and local and national capacity has been exceeded. And not only exceeded, but normally also with problems because they are affected. So that makes these different things makes that the need of specialized personnel and tools is very big. And there are not so many specialized personnel and tools in the countries. So that's why you need an international user response. So when you go to a local user response, as this is a gas explosion in the Madrid region, you need the specialized knowledge and tools. But you have the many other capacities in the region and locally. What challenges do you find here that are different than other incidents? You need a fast assessment of collapsed building and surrounding. You need access to building information. You need communication under and through the rubbles, through all the construction materials that you don't always have with the normal radios. And you need a special safety for responders. That could include geolocalization for being able to know where they are in the damaged structure. And it could include monitoring of both human and canine responders. So for this, you could have drones, augmented reality, interior geopositioning and communication devices, or biomonitoring for safety, as for example, smart textiles. when you go to a national user response, you have similar challenges to local response, but there are different responders that normally don't work together. So you need a common communication and coordination system. And you need that this system can link with local and regional systems and coordination systems as well. This is normally the big problem, is the coordination of different emergency responders. Here we have tools and technologies that can help as portable command and control center, this GCOP system, and other systems that can link them. There can be also mobile units that link at different coordination and communication technologies. As last, there is the international user response that, as you can see here in the picture, has many things that makes it different. You have not your own transport. You have not local or national support. The damage is big. You need to be self-sufficient, and you have a big need of coordination. Safety and security can be very low. So some of the many challenges of international user operations is to be able to, before deploying, monitor the situation for getting a real view of the situation. Wide area assessment for being able to establish sector map for everyone, with aerial views if possible, risk and structural sector assessment for defining work sites in a common language, and operations of search and rescue that would include site information, safety and security assessment that is very important to keep, supervision of personnel and canine units, and have a good access to the site with structural safety and allow communication between all parts. And for that, we have many new technologies that can help us now. Our experience has been very bad in that sense because we had not very much technology. Now we can find social media analysis that can help us in the beginning and through the deployment. We can have help with augmented reality, both from the air and from the ground. Drones that can give us a lot of information and help to avoid useless efforts from the ground. New mapping on the current situation that can be superposed together with the new situation. Extended reality, robots with cameras and sensors, drones, coordination platforms. We have already the INSARAG methodology that gives a common language with the ID and markings and categories. Then we could have mapping and drones for the operations, robots with sensors and drones with sensor for improving the safety and security, and smart textiles, canine wearable devices for biomonitoring and geolocalization of the first responders. And for accessing the site and being able to find the way to enter and access the structure with safety and knowing that the communications will be there, we can use land or aerial autonomous vehicles with sensor and thermal cameras, robotic platforms, and management for improve the coordinated management for taking better decisions. And this is a little bit a fast summary in these few minutes for getting my experience into the feedback to the technologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annika. Thank you very much for showing us the experience of ERICAN, the gaps, and also the needs that new technology of faster cover it. A huge experience and a huge lessons covered. I don't know if there is any other comments from the audience or also from the other colleagues in the meeting to Annika. Thank you very much, Annika.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tina Ritzmay. Thank you very much, Tina. Welcome to the meeting. It's a pleasure you will be here. Tina started working at the AW in 2016, and it has been responsible for the management and implementation of the UA exchange of experts projects. In 2018, she joined the staff unit Research and Innovation Management, where she was responsible for the acquisition of national research projects, internal and external communication, and advertisement of the staff unit's activities. Her current tasks as a senior researcher include supervising junior researchers in the AW during the research project acquisition process. Currently, she is also the coordinator of the 2020 project Cursor. She is the vice chair of the International Forum to Advance First Responders Innovation, IFAFRI, an organization set up by international government leaders for giving a greater voice to first responders. This forum focuses on the technologies needed to help first responders conduct their missions safely, effectively, and efficiently. Thank you very much, Tina, to be here, and I give you the floor for your presentation.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everybody. First, many thanks for the opportunity to be here, share our experiences with you, and also learn from your experiences. It's a very valuable opportunity. And thank you, Anna, for doing the short presentation about my biography. So I can go to the next slide. I hope you can see my screen. Okay. Yes, so I'm just continuing where Annika stopped. So I was asked from the organizers to talk about the technology application in the search and rescue. And I thought that maybe it makes sense first to show what I'm concentrating on, because search and rescue is a very wide terminology, and it can cover mountain rescue, air or sea rescue, but I am talking today about urban search and rescue. DHW is a German government agency, is national civil protection agency, and we are working nationally and also internationally. Probably also we have had deployments together with ERICAM, but me personally, I am not an operational force. I am sitting in the office coordinating one research project, but of course My colleagues have a lot of experiences, and what you see here are gathered from my colleagues and also from my work done for Cursor project and also for the IFAFRI network. So I thought that it's easier to talk about technology applications in search and rescue when I consider the INSARAG classifications, which also Annika mentioned earlier. Here INSARAG has divided the tasks during the deployment into 5 different levels. There are 5 assessment, search and rescue levels. I will not explain every level very thoroughly. The names are quite self-explaining. But here this slide shows you a little bit of work we did in Cursor project. Also what we have done in the IFAFRI network, what kind of technologies are applied in different ASR levels, and what are the emerging technologies. And as Annika said, there are a lot of challenges with the current technology. So if we talk about the wide area assessment, the work done by the local first responders after a disaster, this is basically still done with pen and paper, with communicating with local people. And of course, I am generalizing here. There are definitely teams who can use very high modern technology, but this is the response what we got from several first responders from Europe, that in our life outside deployments, we actually can use very modern technology. We have cell phones, different augmented reality equipment. We use virtual reality daily, but unfortunately, these advancements are not reflected in search and rescue or generally in disaster relief activities. So this is the problem, and here I wanted just to show you that there are emerging technologies available. And now we just need to try to move to the next phase and involve these technologies also into the disaster relief. So unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, are already 15 years, if not more, available. But I can say that in Germany, DHW doesn't have this technology when we are deployed for search and rescue missions. So for us, it's still an emerging technology. So when we move to the ASR level 2 worksite triage assessment, so there we want to identify the specific viable rescue sites where we can start looking for people. So line and hail is done now to start with this task. We are looking for available maps, what we get from locals, what we get from the airport. But we know that there are drone possibilities which could provide us these maps in quite quickly and early with a lot of relevant information. Then we move to the ASR 3 phase. This is the rapid search and rescue, where we, it is a short period where not a deep penetration is done, the quick process to rescue victims. And here, of course, the rescue dogs are not replaceable. We have geophones, we have ground penetrating radars, endoscope cameras, and so on. This is not an exhaustive list here, just what I thought are mostly used. But of course, the potential here is also with robots, different sensors, smart wearables, and it's not only to searching and rescuing victims. As Annika mentioned, the safety of first responders is very crucial here as well. And at the moment, we don't have much or many technologies to provide this safety and security. It's a lot of risks that first responders are taking. Then in the level 4, full search and rescue, what we use now is still rescue dogs, the same basically for rapid search and rescue. And here we have the same options to use different high-end technologies which is still a huge potential, not really implemented in search and rescue for different reasons. And the final level, total coverage search and recovery. So this is usually done also by local forces if the international forces are involved, and they are usually not participating in this phase. This is usually heavy technology which are used. No search and rescue activities are done. So here, I guess the robots can also provide a lot of support. So you can see that there is a gap between the existing technologies and the actually available ones. So I guess this is another conference to discuss why we still don't have them, or maybe Annika can comment it then later if she wants. I know that in DHW in Germany, it's just, I cannot say that we don't have resources. The resources are always there. It's the priorities and the decisions we make, and it takes time, unfortunately, to have these high-tech technologies in the first responders' hand. And with the research projects, we are, of course, also moving one step towards the situation that we have these technologies. And that's why it's very important that first responders are involved in projects like FASTER, like Cursor, that the technologies developed are matching our needs. That, for example, in ASR3, we have the technology which is suitable for completing tasks. And to conclude, what I also want to mention is that we don't, with research projects, we should know that we don't want to replace anything. We want to complement the existing technologies. So that has to be clear from the beginning. So not that I've had this question a lot, if we have robots and we don't need search dogs anymore. Search dogs, in my opinion, will stay because they have just such a huge value for search and rescue operations, but we just need more opportunities for first responders to choose, to make decisions. Yes, so that's all from me. I had not much time, but as you can think, there is a lot to talk about. It was just a very brief overview of knowledge we have gathered in research projects. But the main message is that we should try to have or get these technologies which we are using daily in our lives also into the civil protection, into the deployments. Thank you very much. And if you have questions or comments, I would be very happy to reply.
Thank you very much, Tina. Thank you for sharing us all the overview, all the different phases of the urban search operations, and the way in which the tools have been used. It's very interesting how the different urban user teams use the technologies in terms of improve the reply to their disaster. It's very interesting how we can improve who can improve our work and the intense work of European Commission to help us during this type of situations. Thank you very much, and we hope we could discuss these gaps, these new technologies after the presentations. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
If there isn't any other comments, we start with Mr. Ioannis Kolobos. He's the head of a firefighter in Athens, Greece. Thank you very much, Ioannis, to be here. I'm going to share a little biography of Ioannis. He has been educated at the degree American College of Greece and the Hellenic Fire Academy in Athens. He appointed to the Disaster Response Special Unit IMAC in Elefsina Airport. Sorry, Ioannis, if I don't spell very well the names.
No worries.
He has served as Chief Administrative Officer and all expertise across specialties, including search and rescue operations, technical rescue, civilian and man-made, and technological affairs expert. Over 5 seasons, 28 and 29, was trained in forest fighting by the elite hotshot crews in California. And he holds the position of team leader for the Hellenic Ground Force fight-fitting modules with vehicles since 2012. From 2011 till today, has achieved 3 different levels of training through the European Union Civil Protection Mechanism and registers as expert in European Pool for Emergency Response, CSIS. Currently, he holds position of Head of Disaster Response Directorate in the Fire Corps of Athens. He has been deployed overseas in Barm Earthquake, Iran in 2023, and Big Sur Area Forest Fires, California in 2009. He has experience in earthquake in Armenia in 2011 and also the Lebanon explosion in 2020. Thank you very much, Ioannis, to share with us your experience, your biography. It's a huge experience in very different countries, in very different catastrophes. And also we would like to value your experience if you would like to share with us a little slides of it.
All right. Good morning. Good morning from Athens. From my side, I want to express a big thank you for your invitation. It's a pleasure to be in front of you and present myself to your workshop and to your colleagues. I'm really honored that you invited me. I'll share the screen again. So again, my name is Ioannis Kolovos. I'm a fire lieutenant colonel. I come from Athens. More or less, what you've heard is true from Anna. I currently work for the directorate in Hellenic headquarters for disaster response. I've spent most of my career years in firefighting in a special unit which is called EMAC, and it's now representing Greece in all activities through the European mechanism. EMAC is one of the first rescue teams that participates consistently in every international incident since it was established back in 1987. Practically, it's a search and rescue medium unit, which is integrated to the Hellenic Fire Corps, and currently runs and supports expertise such as canine teams, water rescue, technical rescue, mountain rescue, helitack wildfire crews, and currently numbers 400 specialized personnel, which is spread out in 8 geographical areas in the Hellenic vicinity. MAC responds to every major event and incident which might be demanding inside Greece and worldwide, and has been registered with 2 user modules, the Athenian module and the Thessalonikian from the northern part of Greece, one on the south, one on the north. and they respond in the frame of the European Civil Protection Mechanism. In the past, they are quite experienced as professionals. They have responded in Armenia in 1988, in Turkey in 1999, in Algeria 2003, and Iran the same year, in Morocco and Thailand at tsunami, in Israel wildfires, Californian wildfires again 2008, in Albania the earthquake 2019, and the last the more recent deployment took place in Lebanon, where I will present my experience from how we viewed the and assess the whole incident, which it's let's say the status of the technological incident that you can face and react. It's a typical paradigm for how we can treat and respond in cases like that. The Greek module deployed in Lebanon explosion in August 5th, 2020, and was a light sensor rescue module. And the type of response was the same that we had in Albania in the Durrës earthquake in 2019. We followed the same pattern, meaning that it comprises of 20 men, 2 canine teams, 2 light vehicles. It's airborne for the purpose of rapid deployment by a military plane, the C-130. The equipment we used is equivalent to the standardized one for earthquake operations, but we faced many limitations due to stability of metallic and brickwork structures in the port of Beirut, where we deployed, and also due to polluted soil and air that stalked us a lot through operations. This figure was cases of lessons learned for us, and we tried to cope with it, and through the mission and afterwards. The Greek operated basically at the sector C, which is oriented by UCC. UCC was run by the Dutch team, and we specifically followed the orders and tried to cooperate in the frames of the European mechanism. Though we faced a lot of constraints. The biggest constraint was communication. The light user team that we developed had limited and not advanced technological equipment, which came down only to a satellite phone and VHF radios. Both options did not operate as expected, as planned, because we have disruptive signals interfered in our frequencies most of the times. Communication was a handicap for us throughout the mission. Also, another constraint we faced was the capability for pollution detection, either in air, soil, or water. That was a constraint for the module to develop and take action, and had at all times to wait clearance by local authorities or others' module intervention. One other constraint that our team faced during deployment was that it happened amid the COVID pandemic, and the truth was that we faced situations and that we never imagined, we thought we would find in front of us. And our protocols were not either updated or upgraded, I would say, to the threat that we faced. Of course, that held back many actions that we should take, and stopped us quite a lot in terms of deploying. It started from the first minute in the airport, where we should adjust and fly without climate or air conditioning, and when also you carry the canine teams, that's something that you have to cope with out of the ordinary. There is a well-known saying amongst the first responders, which claims that every incident is different. This case stood 100% in Lebanon. We faced political turmoil, we faced civil unrest, gunfire, we were censored. There was fear amongst us concerning terrorist act, and all this happened in a neighborhood, in a territory, which of course was close. It's not far away from my country, but it was a totally different tradition, an Arabic country, and all of that had reflected to the Greek firefighters, who had different and have different mindset and mentality, and that comes something in comparison to the local stakeholders and players in the incident. At all times, we struggle to adjust out of our comfort zone and our custom expectations, and even though the standards and the practices that and the locals and other, I would say, teams practices have against pandemic were totally different from what we had known and we were familiar with. This is something also that bothered us and tricked us, I would say, many times, and had a negative effect on the crews. In Lebanon, the Greek module, even though had arrived very early, we were the third team to appear on the scene after following Russia and Qatar modules. We didn't have the opportunity to operate in joint teams, at least while following UCC or Lima planning. Nevertheless, we are embracing the EU training system. We advocate the intercoordination, and practically at the end we tried to interact with both Russian and Italian teams that we were there in neighboring sectors. And actually it was quite helpful and provided us with information regarding the Italians regarding asbestos readings in the air and the soil. They had proper readings on their detectors. And on the other hand, the Russian team worked along with our rescuers in mapping hiding debris shafts, which was one of the heads-up situations throughout the operations we established.
Okay.
There is, I don't know if I have time for one more.
Unfortunately, we have lost all our time with all your big biographies. It is a really good point, because all of the practitioners, both Japanese and European, have so huge experience that we have used all our time. So I don't know if you need to share any, because this is very, very interesting, but I don't know if you have finished or not.
This is Yuri, the organizer, and yeah, I think all of this is very interesting, and I would like to extend this session for another 10 minutes, but we would like also to give some time to the participants to ask at least a few questions. So it's up to you, Yoris.
Just I would say regarding new technologies that the prime concern for officers in the module is it's a challenge for us, is safety. And regarding mankind, man-made disasters, we expect technology institutes and science to provide us with innovations that will earn us time so we can have accurate readings and fast and early detection in areas like contaminated or explosive environment. And at the same time, as far as natural disasters, we face many problems in earthquakes like we did in Albania, when we have debris floating, rumble and debris hanging over our hands. And we would like very much to have the Institute trying to work on situations like this and come up with gadgets or structures that will protect us while we're trying to breach or operate under debris. This is it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very interesting points to be taken account for the topic of the workshop. Thank you very much, Ioannis. Thank you. I'm going to present now the list speaker, Haris Georgiou. He's from Greece. He's a member of HRTA since 28, and he is a certificate scuba diver with wild awareness first aid, pediatric, humanitarian aid and disaster relief works in Ghana, Lesbos, Piraeus, support of unaccompanied minors, teacher in community schools, streetboard training, psychological first aid and victim support, and associated postdoc researcher and lecturer with the University of Athens and University of Piraeus. Consultant in medical imaging, machine learning, data analytics, signal processing, dynamic systems, complexity and emergency. He has made 2 books, 200 and more than 100 scientific papers, and I want to thank you your participation here, and also I invite you to share the last presentation previous to the discussing about between all the speakers. Thank you, Haris, to be here.
Yes, if you can see this.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, I will go fast. I know we are out of time. I just want to thank for the invitation on behalf of HRTA. Just a very brief overview of our team. We have 3 main branches of search and rescue for land, for water, and for urban search and rescue, which is mostly the interest in this topic, with certified and trained personnel for each department. We are also part of many many research projects as end users. We are very lucky to have 4 of them, Cursor, Ingenious, Intrepid, and Faster, active now at the same time. So we have the chance to see what is being developed in parallel with all these projects and see the differences between the projects. And also run a few field tests and some pilot events for each one of them. I think I can, you said a few things about myself. I think I can skip and go straight to the issues related to the floods. I just want to show you a few photos from the event. This is Western Attica. It is an event, a flash flood event that happened in November 2017. Two main contributing factors. The first one was that there was a large forest fire in the mountain above this area, which is a precondition for flash floods. And the second, of course, it was an extreme rain event in one specific day in November, which actually caused the flood. And this is the map showing the flow of water in this small area, urban area. And this is what happened inside the urban grid. This is a very large volume of water running through this village, this small city. This lasted about, I think, a couple of hours at this intensity. And of course, with much lower intensity for a few hours more. And of course, the result of this in such a small urban area is, as you can see, very devastating. Of course, this is much smaller scale than tsunami that we saw earlier. But the intensity and the scale and the size of the streets caused this kind of damage inside the area, which actually extended to several kilometers in the downflow towards the sea. Our team was there from the first day, from the first night, mostly for evacuation and humanitarian aid. And of course, the following days, searching for missing persons. And we were there. We are in close cooperation with the fire department and the MAC team, as Mr. Kolovos said earlier, for the Greek civil protection. And we helped in finding all the missing persons and the casualties in order to close this event. Most of the issues that I was planning to say about what we are dealing with in the field, in search and rescue operations, are covered by Annika regarding the use of technology in the field and the special issues that we have. Also by Mr. Kolovos regarding the constraints of technology and the current equipments that we use in the field. And also by Tina from the Kershaw project that describe how these technologies can be applied in practice in almost all the ASR levels in urban search and rescue. I don't want to spend much time. I don't know if we have time for discussion, but I think I can stop here. And
Thank you very much, Harris, for your presentation, speak topics and tools explained. I would like to make, we have seen main technology used, previous experience in major disasters. We have seen technological shortcomings encouraging disaster experience. And also, I would like only one question for all the speakers. What do you think that it's going to, what do you think about the future technological and human challenge in the medium and long terms, both for man-made disasters and natural disasters? What do you think what is the main challenge we need to confront in the future?
Anna, are you asking me?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Okay, just briefly to say that we have more or less various challenges in all the phases of a disaster event. I mean, in the prevention, we can have technologies that help us do preventive planning, and especially in urban environment, have better buildings, have better monitoring in events such as floods and fires. Also in mitigation, regarding the central planning and the situational awareness and the personal training and all the stuff that helped the first responding unit to have a better capacity in order to respond to such events. Most of what we saw is with regard to actual search and rescue missions in the field, to have safer deployments and better results and faster results in the field. And of course, the recovery part, which is mostly for humanitarian aid and reconstruction. Of course, this is beyond the search and rescue topic, but the technologies that are developed for search and rescue can be extended to these challenges as well.
Thank you very much, Harris. Very interesting, your reportation. Also for Japanese speakers, would you like to make any contribution to what do you think is the most important challenge for the future? Yes, Mr. Kiyoshi.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the great presentation from Harris, and it was also really interesting to hear other people's presentation as well. And in the Great Eastern Japan earthquake in 2011, the rescuers and those who were engaged of disaster preventions, such as fighting agencies and firefighting agencies have responsibility to try and make people evacuate as quickly as possible. And those firefighters are a great sense of responsibilities. So they're the one who stayed in affected area until the very last point to try and help other people that ended up losing their lives. And so I think the key problem in Japan is how long we need to leave those rescuers and firefighters in that very severely affected area without making them losing their lives. Because you have to be able to protect yourself even during tsunami, and that's what we learned from that significant event. And what happened is that to protect your people from tsunami, you have to close the gate, but it was manual at the time. It is now, we can now close the gate automatically, but it was manual at the time. And I think there are a lot of similar examples like this when it comes to how to protect your lives. So we need to consider how to protect citizens as well as the lives of rescuers. And that's really important. And maybe we have different mentalities depending on where you live. Maybe overseas people have different mindset, but we need to focus on this point because this is very critical.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kiyoshi. And also for Mrs. Takaki, what do you think this is the challenge for the dogs rescuer?
貴重な講演をありがとうございました。
Thank you very much for your interesting talk. Since we have this special opportunity, I would actually like to ask a question regarding the activities of rescue canines. One thing I always have trouble with is, in the case of a landslide, there is a location that was there previously on a map, and post-landslide, that location may have moved. And to compare pre and post landslide, it's extremely difficult to gather that information in Japan. And I'm wondering how that is in the rest of the world for the professionals. Do you have a method to gather that information? That's my question to the team outside of Japan in particular.
Perhaps Annika can help in this reply.
Yes, I missed the first words of the question. So it was how we deal with something in the rest of the world, but I lost the communication there.
It's about the data, the transmission of the information with the dog guides during the disaster area, also with the rest of the responders. I don't know if you would like to develop this question with specific data. Do you would like to know?
Well, I think we have the same problem all over the world, and it's data that could be very practical to have, and we don't have it really now. So I think we are sharing the same problem, everyone, and I think technologies can help us to solve that problem. I can just jump back to what Mr. Murakami said about the rescuers, and I would also say the dogs in this case, that there is a big focus always, not in this forum, but about thinking of the victim's safety before everything. And it's important, but I agree completely that we cannot forget that if we don't have safety for rescuers, we will not have any rescue of the victims. So I think it's a very important thing that the technologies, in this case, that there is a projects that look on the safety of rescuers and make this technology user-friendly, because rescuers are normally not big technological fans, or they are normally more of using their hands and their heart. And then we need that technologies are good, but are very easy to use. And I think that's one of the big challenges of this kind of technologies, because they must be very advanced, but very easy to use and very fast to use and very, user-friendly for rescuers, I would say. No? And I talk in this case especially of firefighters that has to have many different capacities, because it's a very wide profession. And at last, we need that technologies that can help us to be safe and that can help us to make a faster response and be more efficient. It's very important that they are very easy and intuitive to use. And I think that's a big challenge. I would say that would be the biggest challenge, because normally the ones that develop technologies are very different in that sense, because they are very technological and specialized in technology. And in this case, the users of that technology needed to be very easy to use and not having to do big trainings and big difficult things for being able to use them.
Thank you very much, Annika. Very good key points to be considered. Also, with this specific point of developing technologies for the future. Thank you very much. Finally, the last two questions for making an overview of the advantages we have got from the past. for Mr. Murota and Mr. Ioannis, what technologies that are available now would have made a difference in disasters that happened 10 years ago? Omar.
Hi, Murota です。
This is Murota speaking. Regarding your question, before I answer, just back to Professor Murakami. As he said, the fire service is generally a volunteer service, and 200 people joined in the East Japan Great Earthquake. They lost their lives, and this is because of the gate issue and not evacuating and so on. And the main problem is that you call out to people to evacuate, but they don't respond. And you waste time asking people again and again to evacuate, and it ends up that the firefighters lose their lives because of this. And technology is one issue, but more than anything else, the firefighters need to evacuate to protect their own lives. And an awareness of this is essential. And this awareness needs to be within the entire community, not just within the actual responders.
Thank you very much.
技術があったらという話については、
and a technology that what difference would it have made 10 years ago? I was talking about this earlier, my experience in the rescue service. When you don't know the situation, when you have a nationwide disaster, you have no way to get information about what the actual situation is. You get micro level information, but you don't have any macro information. In the case of the great earthquake of East Japan, this didn't happen. But when you have the effect of the tsunami, and you can calculate it on a supercomputer, within 30 minutes, you can predict the scale of the devastation by a tsunami. And if we had had something like that back then we could have dispatched people in a completely different way. That's what I would say about that particular disaster.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kurota. I don't know if Mr. Ioannis would like to upload any other.
Yeah, that's very true. The comparison you mentioned, I will only refer to two examples. One of them is the Mati incident. I think you've heard about it. We suffered 103 losses 3 years ago, with an enormous, fast, furious fire. If I can compare models that we exercise now, it's a unified system, alerting system, which has been established now in our operational center. I think the outcome would have been totally different in those days. We wouldn't have suffered so many victims because evacuation would have been easier and information would have been passed right on time. That's one case, and another case I can think of, and I've been reported to, was a case of rescue in a canyon accident, where we thanks to drone use, we pinpointed and we located in time during night hours one victim. Otherwise, he would have been dead out of hypothermia. We were fast, time matters in these cases. And it all happened thanks to technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ioannis. I want to thank you, all your contribution to get an overview of the disasters and a specific point of view of each profile, each specific emergency assistance into the catastrophes, each different type of disasters that affect us each day. And also how the new technologies support us improving or reply. I don't want to use more time. I want to make ask for apologize for the next meeting because we have used time from them. And also, I want to thank you all for your point of view and your contribution and attendance. Thank you very much, everyone. It has been a very enriched meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you very
Senora.
much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know if
So
I don't know
I
if
would like
Yuri want to make any other application.
Yes, I would like to make an announcement. I know that we are running late, but we're going to take a 10-minute break. So instead of starting at, I think it was 8:30 CET. No, sorry. It's at 10:30 CET. We're going to start at 10:40 CET and at 18:40 JST. So sorry for the inconvenience. We're just going to take a 10-minute break, and everybody's welcome to stay. But we need to do a little bit of testing and also instructions for the new arrivals. Okay, so I'm going to get started with that, and then we start with the session at 10:40. So first announcement is that unfortunately, Mr. Anastasios Dimo had an emergency and will not be able to moderate the next session. Instead, we have asked Fabio Perosini from the KPRF to moderate the next session. So that's which is gonna start in about 7 minutes. And then also, for those new arrivals, this Zoom symposium has simultaneous translation capabilities. So if you just joined us and you would like to listen to the presentation in English, please use the button right next to the More button at the bottom right. And so, I'm sorry, that sounds like a tongue twister. So on the bottom right, you have a button that says Interpretation. So just set it to English if you want to listen in English, and set it to Japanese if you want to listen in Japanese. Okay, that's for those people who just joined. Okay, other than that, we'll just do some tests. So Fabio, are you here?
Thank you very much,
Yes,
everyone.
I'm here. Yes, can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. Thank you very much. Okay, so Fabio, you should set your interpretation mode to English so that you can listen only in English. It's on the bottom right.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So
okay.
I'm going to speak in Japanese now for those people who just joined us, which don't have yet turned on the translation capabilities. So give me a minute. Miyazaki-kun, maybe you can, no. Let me do it. Okay, so I'm going to set myself to off. すいません。今、会議に参加し始めた日本人の方なんですけれども、
For Japanese audience who just joined this session, this meeting will be simultaneously interpreted. If you would like to enable interpretation, please click on the globe icon at the bottom of the screen. And if you select Japanese, then you can listen to Japanese interpretation. And then English speaker will choose English. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so we can get started in about 4 minutes. I'll take a quick break and I'll be right back. Everybody, you can take some breaks and then we'll get started at in 4 minutes sharp. Thank you.
Thanks.